Welcome to the video. I'm trying to make something here to hang a webcam off for my wife and daughter who take piano lessons. You can see the webcam sat on top of the camera stand here, and I thought I'd try and make something a little bit more elegant. So I had some wood in the garage, some pallet wood. I thought it was appropriate for this piece, so dug that out and started measuring up what we were going to do with it. And I'd created a little bit of a plan in my book, and this is something I'm trying to concentrate on, is to plan these things a bit more and measure them up to make sure I follow the plan and make sure it comes together, and we'll see how that goes. We've got some bits that don't go quite to plan in this video, and I'll point them out. And so what I had in mind to make was a kind of wall shelf. You can see it here in my notepad, 3 little boxes joined together and a piece sticking out that we could use to hang the webcam off so that the instructor can see the piano. So we take our wood to the planer and thicknesser. We begin by putting a straight edge on this to try and square it up. This of course is pallet wood, and so at the moment it's not that good. You'll see later in the video that actually it comes out looking quite nice, just pine, but looks very good. And so what I was trying to do on this project was be a bit more precise in my woodworking, and so as you've seen before, I did create a plan of sorts. And I did put some dimensions on it. I don't think I put enough dimensions on it, and that's something I need to improve on. Make a plan, make plenty of dimensions, know what your cut list is, and then stick to it. If for some reason something goes wrong and you have to change the plan, make sure you stick to that. As you'll see later, that's gonna bite me a bit later on in this video. And of course what I'm trying to do here is make all of this wood square by doing all this. Of course this piece is actually 3 squares, and so it's going to be pretty obvious if it's not square, and you'll be able to see later on in the video if I've succeeded there or not. And also getting used to these tools. I've had this planer and thicknesser for a couple of years, but I haven't used it that much. So if you've got some tips, if I'm doing anything wrong, put them down in the comments. That would be great. And just for your info, this is a Titan 204mm electric planer and thicknesser. Cost me about £180 back in 2020, so that would make it 4 years old in fact. So yeah, if you want to buy one of these, I would recommend it. It's done okay for me so far. Haven't used it for too much, but I'm liking how it works. A little bit tricky to change it from the thicknesser to the planer and back and forth, and I'll maybe show you how that's done in another video. If you want to know about that, just put another comment down in the comment section. Once we've got it down to the right thickness, it's across to the table saw, and we're trying to be precise, as I've said, and so we're measuring here from the fence to make sure we get the right dimension on the strips of pallet wood that I've flattened. And so we're trying to take our time here to make sure this is right. So we put it through the table saw, making sure we don't get any fingers in the way. It looks like as this comes through that it's not up against the fence, but it definitely is, I can assure you. And so we get that down to the right dimensions, get all our wood through there to make it the right dimensions and of course square. Now we get to the tricky bit, which is measuring everything out with gratuitous use of the square to try and make everything square. And so we're trying to be very careful here, measuring things out and making sure that we get everything to dimension and square before we start cutting these pieces out. And of course, not surprisingly, even when we try our best, we go wrong, and so we have to rub it out and start again. I think in this case I was on the wrong side of the wood for some reason. Decided to turn it over and mark things out on the other side, but these things happen as long as you catch them and fix your mistakes. And as you mark out your pieces, there's always a point where you have to think what you're doing. And if you get to that point, for me, what I end up doing is tapping out the theme to a sports program that used to be on back in the probably 80s and 90s. If you knew what it was, put a comment down below and you get 100 points. So once we've got our lines done, it's across to the table saw to start making our cuts. And again, we want to be very precise on what we're doing, so I'm making real sure that I'm on the line here, and then we can cut it down. You'll have to excuse the mess that I've got in my workshop. There may be some videos coming up showing how I'm tidying it up and improving on my storage space. And again, once we've done a cut, we want to make absolutely sure that we are square. So here you can see me getting the square out again. Make sure both ends of that are square. That's really important if we're going to make this thing look good. What you'll see me doing now is marking out the slots for the pieces. If you cast your mind back to the plan, what this piece actually is made up of is one main piece going up and down and two pieces going across, slotting into that main piece. And so these are the slots for those pieces. So I've clamped down my square there to try and make it square, as I keep saying, and I'm just marking out that slot. And then what I thought I'd do is use the drill press to drill a hole at the end of the slot, and then what I was going to do, and what I do, is saw down to that slot. This probably wasn't the best idea, it didn't come out perfectly well. It was okay, but it could have been better. And so what I ended up doing was straighten it up on the table router, and you can see there that I've got two holes that I'm going to cut down to. So here I am cutting down into the wood to make these slots so the cross pieces can slot into them. And now we're doing the two cross pieces, doing the same thing, putting the markings for the slot in them. You can see there those markings, and this time I've decided to do it on the table router and to try and make it a little bit straighter. In fact, I think I'm just straightening up the main one there, and I'll do the others in a minute. And once we've got all of our slots done, it's time for a bit of a dry fit. So we put the first cross piece in. I think we'll reach for the other one, give that a go. They seem to fit in quite nicely. They're not perfect by any stretch, but it wasn't bad for a first attempt. And there we have the first dry fit. And of course they're not glued in, so they look a bit wonky, but we'll work on that in a minute. And so having done that, I thought I'd try the rest of the pieces together, taping them together with the painter's tape. And as you'll see when I lift it up, it's still a bit wonky, some of the bits aren't the right dimensions, and this is because of the lack of the plan and not enough dimensions. And so I realized that I'm going to have to mill up some more wood because I didn't have enough wood in the first place. So I won't bore you with that again. Here it is in QuickTime. What I'm doing here is putting a mitered edge on these new pieces that I've milled up, and that maybe was a bit of a mistake. Not all the pieces had mitered edges, and so you don't really see it, but it wasn't really necessary. But what I found out, using just this little cheap simple bandsaw, you can get pretty good mitered joints. So that was something else I learned, how to extend the tools I have to do something different. I didn't realize or hadn't tried this before, and actually it came out quite good. And now it's time for some gratuitous use of wood filler. As I said earlier in the video, this is pallet wood, and of course it's going to be full of nail holes. And so I wasn't really trying to make this anything other than it was, which was pallet wood. And anyway, I had in my mind that this was going to be stained, you'll see later anyway, so it didn't really matter. So here we are getting the wood filler out and filling all of the holes in all the pieces of wood. Now we get to the glue up and the beginning of assembly. I've obviously done some sanding on these parts, and they came out looking pretty good. I was quite surprised how good the wood looked, and I had it in mind to leave it as is, but I didn't want something that was very light on the wall. I thought that would just stand out, and so I decided that I was going to stain this, and you'll see that later. Just trying to find something to spread my glue here. Get one of my lollipop sticks. Top tip here, if you've bought these lollipop sticks that are coloured, don't use the coloured ones, as in this case you'll end up with blue glue, and that will be on your piece as well, so make sure you don't use the coloured ones. So we get this together, and as you can see here, start using these corner clamps. I think that's the right name for them. These were a great gift. I was really pleased with these, and it helps again with that precision to try and get everything square as possible. As you'll see at the end, spoilers, it wasn't quite as square as I wanted it to be, but it was pretty good. And so for this, it was a piece for myself really. I wasn't too worried, and so we get these clamped up, keeping these pieces square to one another, and you can see me there clearing off the glue. I don't think I did enough of that, because as you'll see later, the stain doesn't really take to the glue, and so it might have been a good idea to put some painter's tape on those edges to make sure the glue didn't seep out too much. So here you see me trying to work out which way round this goes, and I think about it. I do look at my plan, and I think about it, and eventually I go ahead and put in, and then there's a big long think here. Does that look right? I'm not sure it does, and eventually you'll see that I've got it wrong. I think the reason that I've got it wrong here is that I've put these two bits the wrong way round. That arrow shows that there's a mitre at the end and there's a mitre there, and they're supposed to be on the other side. And so you'll see me then start taking this apart, and this was one of the problems with not having a proper plan. And had I looked at the plan, which I eventually did, I would have realized that I'd put that all together, and so of course have to take it all apart, clear all the glue off, and start again and get it back. And so there we are, kind of part way back, we've got it the right way around this time, we think. And so we start putting more clamps on. So we got the second cross member on, and then we just start adding piece after piece, building it up, trying to make sure that it's square. And so here we are sanding each of our pieces. I've done a lot more sanding than this, than I show on the video, but you can see I'm trying to show you the grain on this. It came out pretty well, but the light on there caused too much glare. Sanded up through the grits. I think I started off at 80 grit and worked up. I think I went to 320 on this. As I said, trying to make this look as good as possible. But in the end, I'm actually going to stain this quite a dark stain. I didn't want anything too light on the wall, but we got it all sanded up, and again we start fitting our pieces together, gluing it up, clamping it up. Don't laugh at the rusty old clamps that I've got. Again, need to buy some new ones, but this is all I've got at the moment. So again, we're measuring up, trying to make this as precise as possible because I want to look it good. We changed now to a non-coloured lollipop stick. We learnt something there, and again we've got our corner clamps on, and we fit each piece on bit by bit, being ever so careful to get it on as square as possible. That's the last piece in, all glued up, all clamped up. We'll leave it to dry for a while, and then all that's left to do is the YouTube Woodworkers magical clap. Oh, didn't work. What went wrong? Oh, just took a bit of time. There we go. I'm still learning. And now we can have a look what we've got after that. We can remove the painter's tape, and it come out not too bad. That looks pretty good at the moment, as you'll see, relatively square too. And then more gratuitous use of wood filler just for the corners and all of the cracks to try and cover up all of my mistakes, but it's looking pretty good. I was quite impressed with it at this point, and again was wondering whether I should leave it in the natural look there. Some here on the corner, some more here in the corners. And then what we wanted to do was obviously something to hang this on the wall, and so I had these angle brackets, and I'm just marking up here where I'm going to put them. What I'm going to try and do, as you'll see in a minute, is use my router and route out a little groove for them, and put another one in the corner here. Only needed two because it's only going to have light stuff in there, so we can mark out how deep we want to go with that. Another gift here. This is an excellent little router, very powerful, and so we put on a little router bit there, and we're gonna try and be very careful in routing out these two slots. Once we've finished our routing, you can see our little groove there. We give it a test fit, and now I'm going to mix up some epoxy. I want to get those in pretty sturdy so they don't fall out. I couldn't think of a better way to do it. I didn't have any screws that were small enough for this, so I thought it would be simple enough just to epoxy the two brackets in, and that worked out really well. now it's on to improving some of the bits that I'd done before. I'd cut out this slot on the router table, and this is the slot where the webcam's gonna kind of bolt into, and it wasn't that straight. So again, using my router here, I just wanted to straighten that up, and so I put a piece of wood there that's square to the slot, and we're just slowly improving that, making that look a little bit better. And now that we've done that side, I wanted to do the other side, so there we go, that looks better. So I move my piece of wood, measure, make sure that's square, and we're going to get a straight slot there. Use a couple of clamps to keep hold of it, and then once again with the router we're going to carefully straighten up that edge and make sure that looks a lot better. And to finish up, we are sanding it again, hand sanding it and palm sanding it, and it was looking pretty good at the moment. The wood looked really good, the grain on it looked really good. You can see there the brackets on the back there, epoxied in, they were really sturdy. It perhaps wasn't as square as I wanted it to be, but it wasn't too bad, and so I was quite pleased with that. And then you can see the kind of final product before we stain and do some finishing touches onto it. Here we are modifying the webcam now, just going to put a hole straight through it so that we can put a small bolt and a washer and a nut, so that it's fixed onto the shelves, and we can slide it along that slot that you saw earlier, so that there's some adjustment in it. Then you can see the hole there. So we come to the finish, and I had two options in the garage, a light one there, pine one I think it was, and this darker one, a walnut. As I said before, I was toyed with the idea of leaving it natural wood because it looks pretty good there, but I went with the dark one instead to stain it, and hopefully that would cover up the kind of joints and the filler and any other problems with it. This again is pallet wood, and so it's not perfect, but it looks pretty good here. So we're just going to apply this with cloth, which is how the instructions tell us to do it. Looking pretty good here. I was quite impressed with this, although it was just the first coat and it was still quite light, and so I was going to darken it up with the second coat. And so we get to the end of the first coat. You can see in the corners there the stain is not quite taken where there's glue squeeze out. That was a bit of a problem, and just a reminder to put painter's tape on your joints there to make sure the squeeze out's easy to clear up. You can see some there in the corners also. And so we went on to this second coat. This time I decided to do it with a paintbrush, just to get a more even coat to make things hopefully look a little bit better. So it took a bit of a while to get all the outside faces, and then all the inside faces, and then all the front facing edges, but eventually we got it all done, and it's looking not too bad now. Just finishing the touch-ups, and as I'm sure you can imagine, as you do these, you're always finding something else a little bit here, and the danger is that you just keep painting and painting this, and this is what I'm doing here, find a little bit more to touch up, and then a little bit more in the corner, and then we want to make that top a little bit better, and then we find the edge is not quite like it should be, so we want to do that again. I was really disappointed I didn't get the grain flowing in the same way for that bit that sticks out. That's the bit that the webcam's going to hang off of. But eventually, once we've looked about, done all our touch-ups, we've finished. Once that's done, it's on to quick hand sanding, just to remove any imperfections and flatten the surface in some places. Once we've done that, then a quick wipe with a piece of towel just to get the dust off, clean it up, and then touch up those bits that we think need it. You can see here again the glue or epoxy on the wood doesn't take the stain very well, so we want to go around and touch those bits up, just make it look good. And finally, we are going to give it a couple of coats of lacquer, and in this shot it looks quite shiny there, but I think the lacquer is just wet. This is actually a satin lacquer, not a gloss one, and so we give it a couple of coats of that, throw it on the table, but it's all good, and leave that to dry, and then mount it on the wall, and you can see it in action. Webcam fitted, connected to the laptop, so the instructor can see the pianist playing their pieces. If you like the video, subscribe and like, and we'll catch you on the next one.